Check, check, quick sound check. Can everybody hear us loud and clear? What's going on, Coach Paul?
Hey, Coach Jay, hear you loud and clear. Welcome back at the buzzer.
Welcome to our buzzer beaters. Hopefully, everybody's having a good day today. Looks like we sound good, look good. Hopefully, everybody's feeling good, trading well. Uh, Welcome to At the Buzzer, our market recap. If this is your first time here, I'm Coach Jay. That is Coach Paul. The goal of this segment is to review what happened in the markets for the day. We may talk about some markets that you have not traded before, but we believe our goal as traders is to identify opportunity, see how we could have taken advantage of our opportunities while managing our risk. If this is our first time meeting, I'm Coach Jay. Been a Topstep performance coach since June of 2023. Been trading for the past 13 years and in the futures markets for the past 6. And that is Coach Paul. Coach Paul, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hey, I'm Coach Paul. I've been with Topstep since April of 2023. Um, I've been involved in the futures industry for 4 decades. I'm here to share some of my experiences and knowledge and hopefully assist you into becoming a better trader.
Awesome. Good stuff. Thank you, Coach. And you are all the chat. Let us know how you did today. Were you up on the day, down on the day? Anything that you learned from the day? Uh, I was on fast markets this morning, struggling a little bit, fighting against trends, trying to buy crude oil when it was selling off. Uh, but I made it out alive. Was able to recover, have a decent trading day in these Top X accounts. Um, but it was a rough one. When you're going against the trend, uh, it's a tough fight. Tough sledding. But let us know how you did in the chat. I'm going to share. I got you, Coach. You should have it now.
There we go. Yeah, well, today or days, well, it depends on your trading plan.
Yep.
And we had initially a head fake down, and then some turbulence. That 15-minute chart just shows me a lot of turbulence there.
Yeah.
Wicks all within that range. And if you, as a trader, if you're not disciplined, if you're not position sized right, you can do some real damage to your account.
100%.
Like you said, fighting the trend or whatever, you didn't blow up.
Right. I was
That's
just
a
wrong.
lesson, just wrong. By the way, if you can't accept being wrong, don't do this.
Yeah. I'm wrong
Or
about 60% of the time.
yeah, I wouldn't even consider it wrong. You can lose well and have a good trade, and that's something I that I don't see on the Twitterverse too much. You know, we all like to share our winners, but today was a classic day in the equities. Other markets, we'll go into the yen later, were just straight move. But once again, managing your account, and you could have a good losing day today and stopped and just stopped and lost and not
Right.
lost your account. If you lost your account, this is the day, these are the days like this that you have to learn from.
100%. And I just want to comment on something. I've seen it all day during the daytime show as well, and then some comments here. Every time you comment on what the house account is doing, and it's okay to have the conversation, uh, but you have to realize when you're the tone of your messages are just extremely negative and focused only on the negative. The comment I'm asking about, you can't see it in the chat. It was removed. Maybe you're still listening here. Um, no one's muting you for talking about the account. The numbers that we see on the big board, the team is working through it. I asked the question actually on the big board today because we have a new number one trader on that big board. It has a $600,000 balance in that account. That's verified. That's actual money, right? Topstep's not just putting up there. They actually had to put that in a brokerage account. But then if you look at the stats for how the trader was trading, there was an 18% win rate. If you were watching the show and not just searching for negativity, I asked JD that question on the show and said, "Hey, how does it? That's pretty good. The trader has an 18% win rate and was able to make 600 grand in that account." And JD clarified it, and he said, "These are the stats for 2 days from the live accounts. So what you're seeing there, and yes, it may be confusing, and the team is going to do the best they can for clarity in those numbers. Even if it was a conspiracy, right, where these numbers are fabricated, does that help you when you're trading? I'll ask that question, right? And that goes for anybody. Anything you see on the internet, you could be a sleuth and try to figure it out. And I do this investigative discovery, and oh, I got them on this one. If you're here to be a trader, does that help you make any money? That's my question. Let's get into these markets. We have 35 different markets that we can trade with Top Step accounts. To the downside today, we had heating oil down 1.76%, crude oil down 2.1%, and RBOB gasoline futures down 2.26%. To the upside, we had copper up 1.99%, live lean hogs up 2.17%, and natural gas up 3.29% for our biggest percentage mover to the upside. To talk about our big four, we had, let's see, we already talked about crude oil down 2.09%. Why were you trying to buy it, Jay? I don't know. Uh, we had we had gold up 0.19%. The S&P's up 0.45%, and the Nasdaq up 0.51% to round out our big four. I have a Nasdaq chart up here. I'm gonna go out to a 30-minute chart. What are you seeing on this 30-minute chart here, Coach?
The rally. There's that white line. What is that white line?
The 200 moving average.
We overnight we got below it, had movement down, and once again, our cousins in London, what did they do? They led the way.
Yeah.
Low was made, and we slowly leaked back over the 200. And we were down at one point like 40, 50 in the S&P.
In the S&Ps, yeah, and I think about 150 points or so in the 160 points in the Nasdaq from the open to that low, and then just completely rallied. I was actually going to make the comment that we haven't been seeing the two-sided trade that we've been getting during the daytime session, but it's just it's just happening over the course of the day, where we had a really nice sell-off last night and just bought it all back up this morning.
Well, it's just interesting. Every one of those candles was a buy until late in the day.
Yeah, 13 green 30-minute candles in a row.
So I just have to bring this up. Successful trading. You just mentioned that trader, 18% win rate.
Right.
It's very
it was wrong. The data was wrong. But yes, go ahead, Coach.
It's possible to make good money. I didn't know that I could be wrong. It's possible to make money if you know how to handle, cut your losses, take small losses, let your winners ride. That I've seen in action. I've done it myself on swing trading. Today, I'm going to bring it up again. That was not it. That opening, as we see, we got over the 200. Look at the wicks on both sides of that opening candle. So you can absolutely, like you did in crude, at one point you're trying to buy, but you're not blowing up. And I think this is one of the biggest things I see with new traders is being stubborn.
Yeah.
And believe me, I have a stubborn streak in me too. So
me too.
you can either use your stubbornness to ignore losses, or you can use your stubbornness to execute a trading plan. When you know that difference, you can take 80% losers and hang on to a winner. Today I just have to say it again, that today was a perfect example of that. So boy, once we got over that 200, we never closed below it, finished in where we are now. This interesting also the 20 bar moving average crossed. So short-term momentum, longer-term momentum. And look at that volume from the opening. That's a classic. We had buying in there in the first half an hour. And look at that was the biggest volume of the day. Once we settled above that, there was no looking back. And as we can see from VWAP, we never, in a half hour, we never closed below it.
Yeah, never closed below. It tested it a couple times. It made it very difficult. And I think what I've realized is, especially with this, we hear everybody talking about, oh, this is the new times that we're in. Maybe there aren't really many opportunities to hold on to runners. At least over the past couple of days, we see either and Coach Vince next week, we see either a rally early or we get what we had today. And I think I said it on Fast Markets as well, right? It's if we don't leave this 3-minute opening range convincingly early, I'm maybe not looking to trade the equities for that first hour, right? Because we see this a lot, right? Where we get consolidation for that first hour. Maybe there's news coming out later in the day or whatever it is. But for a trend trader, for a range bound trader, you had a 100-point range in the Nasdaq that you could have taken advantage of here. And normally we see this happen later in the day, right? During the afternoon, during that lunchtime kind of lull. But the rally today came almost 2 hours into uh, the day, right? If you're looking at it, excuse me, if you're looking at a shorter time frame, if you're looking at a 15-minute chart or 30-minute chart, maybe you're buying the lows of these wicks and just holding on to it. But if we look at when the market really started to break out of this range, it took almost 2 hours, and then we get a move. So it's hard. It's hard to stay out of this. I don't think I took a trade in the equities because of this, because I'm looking for trends and they didn't happen. I actually did take one short and cut it for break even. I was looking at the charts with my eyes closed. I took a short right around here. I don't know what the hell I was doing. I'm gonna be honest, Chad. Sometimes that happens. And again, I was completely wrong. Completely wrong. Like I could not have been more wrong. It didn't blow up my account, and that's the lesson. That's the lesson. I was dead at. I could not have been more wrong. Where I sold it was pretty much the low of the market for the rest of the day. I made the wrong read. Your favorite quarterback in the Super Bowl this weekend, your Jalen Hurts or who else is Patrick Mahomes might throw an interception. But at the end of that game, one of them is going to be the champion for that season because of the collective results of the decisions that they made, not just one. Could one decision lose them the game? 100% it could. Could one decision, did they make mistakes during the season? 100%. I don't know what their numbers look like, but I'm sure Mahomes and Hurts both have an interception or a fumble at some point during the season. And it might have lost them that game, but the collective results of the decisions that they make have to be judged more than one decision. I was dead ass wrong about this. What made me short the Hayes records? I honestly don't know. So okay, I do know. Let me not be. So I do know why I shorted. I do know why I shorted. I actually didn't have this VWAP on this chart, but I do know why I shorted. So we had what looked like volume here. I wanted to get short up here, but I missed the trade. And then
Oh,
I saw.
wait. I have
Go
to.
ahead. Go ahead.
This is coach. I'm going to coach the coach.
Yeah.
You just said a word, 4-letter word, want. I want
Yeah.
or wanted to
Yeah.
get short there.
Right.
And this is classic. In the short term, were you following a plan when you sold it, was it the plan to sell it when it broke the low? The low.
So the plan was. So okay. So I'll frame out this trade exactly for you, Coach. Right. So we were not getting a trend day, right? From my, we'll talk about the trade. We were not
All right.
getting a trend day from what I saw. We had anchored VWAP that was pretty much hanging out at the opening range, right? So as we got extended, and we've talked about this trade a couple of times before, where if VWAP is flat, we have the opening range down here. The further extended we get, there's a higher likelihood of a reversal trade, right? So I'm looking for a reversion to mean trade here. I was just 60 points late to that trade, right? We got 3 ATRs on the 3 minute chart away. At this point, I should have been looking for that reversal signal, and we can see it. We actually got it, right? So we have this spike of volume right here, this hammer candle. And if we anchor a VWAP there, the short is the right idea. I was just, I don't know if I was distracted. I don't know if I was just, second guessing myself, whatever it was. But by the time I took the trade was over. So it was the right idea. It's something I have playbooked. I the game was over by the time I decided to show up. Um,
Oh,
the good thing about it is I realized that
does
I
that
said,
happen?
"Whoa,
I want to ask the audience,
yep."
does this happen to you?
Has that happened to anyone else here?
I mean, that's a great question.
Charles Williams
You
says,
know,
"Sure."
sometimes, you know,
All the time. If someone says it doesn't, then they're liars. So, okay, great. I love the fact that we're getting a lot of people that said that this happens. The lesson here is be wrong and manage your risk. Be wrong and manage your
yeah,
risk. I was completely wrong. And if I had an ego, the market would have showed me how wrong I was. Right. And I did take the trade to break even, because I think I had 7 points in my favor at one point. And then I started to realize it's like, hey, this is not a good trade, dude. What are you what are you doing? Uh I could have taken the 120 bucks on it. I went to break even. Maybe I was hoping it was going to continue, but I was dead ass wrong. And that's going to happen because no, it's going to happen when you follow your strategy perfectly, coach.
it could, exactly. And this is where discipline and experience comes in. If you recognize that whether you lost a little bit, you recognize it. It's don't we're talking anchor the VWAP. Don't anchor your ego to being right. The, that's why when you're our biggest enemy in trading is our ego. It's either not taking losses or trying to make too much money too fast. Most, fear and greed. Um, is it all right to make mistakes or misjudge a trade or get in too late? Yeah. The key in the experience in your experience is okay. What am I doing here? This is not something that I had really planned for. I was late. Get out. And as the more you trade, and I mean volume trade, not just experience, the more you trade in a day, the better you better be at that. Because if you just slip once, you can get stuck
Yep.
hard.
I
I mean,
I,
if you didn't use the boy, that,
I want to. Did anyone take this long? Did anyone take this long at all? I just want to ask. Anyone getting along in the equities kind of off of this move here? Alex says yes. Yep, I got that one. Nice trade. I saw some traders call it out. Tried to, broke it at break even. Caught it on ES. Okay. Okay. Nice. I got a question. Somebody asked me a question. If you lose trades or if you lose accounts, how can you coach? I'll ask a second question. Based on the information that we've given out here, did anyone feel a little bit more confident taking this long off of something that you heard during at the buzzer? Just a yes or no. And if it's no and you had your own strategy, completely fine. Yes. Okay. So if you're asking the question, why I coach, we got a couple of yeses. And you took the long with your own analysis, Mo. Congratulations. But if you're
It's a
asking why I
great
coach, it's
question.
because of all the yeses in the chat. Never claimed to be the greatest trader, and I'm never going to.
By the way,
Never going to.
did you blow up your account?
I did.
Okay.
I'll probably do it again.
And so did you make a bad decision
Yes.
and you got out
Correct.
and you live another day?
Correct.
Now, one of the things too I'll add to that is anytime you're in basketball, I had a coach that taught me the psychology of you're either winning or you're learning. So learn something from this. It's from a coach that has that kind of experience. Learn from it. I mean, being open and honest here.
Yep.
You're not. It's the problem is if hiding behind your ego. You could just say we could just be a typical Twitterverse kind of. I did awesome today. Look at that's all you got to do. Well, I've been around a long time. It's just I've never met anyone that just makes money all the time.
You can go follow him. That's fine. That's okay. Uh, Someone in the chat says, I feel bad. Don't feel bad for me. Why? I'm here to coach, and hopefully, what we do here has provided some information for you to take your trades. It's been my job since I got here at Topstep. Coach, it ever seems like every time you get up front with somebody, they let's just keep going. Anything else you see on the charts, Coach? Anything you see on the charts?
Yeah, let's look at the daily real quick.
All right, let's look at the daily. Stand on what you say, Chad. Don't backtrack. Here's the daily, Coach.
Holding the 20 and the 50. Looking very untypical. We're still in this range, but it's holding the 20 and the 50. We could, with today's kind of action, we could unleash. I look at that big volume selling with the gap. Was that Monday? What is that day here? Is this FOMC?
Yes, this is FOMC day. Yep.
So this could be a J trade on a daily.
Interesting.
Big volume, hold the low. We're playing in the middle. Whatever this high of this day, mark that high. We get over that high and we're going to explode. This
21.7, pretty much right where we closed, 767.
Okay.
Hoag also mentioned, and you'll hear Hoag talk about this tomorrow, the late spike. If you were watching the equities close, this range here, 21,709 up to 21,765, where we closed. You'll hear Hoag talk about that in the opening call tomorrow, looking at that late spike. I think it'll be important to kind of even watch how the Globex Open trades around these prices. So 709 up to 765.
Okay. I'm going to mark that. It's well, the base of the late spike. Why is that so important? Here's what happens at the end of the day. Institutions can add a lot of volume. And institutions in equities tend to buy. Not even tend to. It's like they're not there to get short. And they did. So that base of the late spike gives you an idea of where, what we used to call it window dressing. If they bought some during the day, as we can see from VWAP, there was
Hmm.
buying, save some powder. It used to be called save some powder for the last few minutes to spike it, or for window dressing. Um, so that's what that base of the leg. And tomorrow, if you're not familiar with it, watch to see if that gets to that level and what happens.
We finally closed that gap that we had down from the week to open the week. We're trading significantly above it now. Again, next level, like you said, Coach, is the high of that FOMC candle. Let's take a quick look at the S&Ps. Pretty much the same thing. Haven't traded to the high of that candle yet on the daily, but looks very similar. And if we get a breakout above here, uh, you know, we've a lot of the hesitation we've seen from the markets has been from the tariff news. We know that at least for Canada and Mexico, those tariffs are going to be delayed. Uh, so, do we have any more negative news that's going to hold these markets down? We know we have some tech earnings, Amazon next week, Monday, and I believe Nvidia is reporting next week as well. We're not far from all-time highs in the S&Ps. As uneasy as these markets have seemed. We pretty much just been trading in a range over the last couple of days. So it doesn't feel like markets that are near all-time highs, but we're not far. Let's go to a market that did make an all-time high today,
All right.
Coach. Gold. Let's talk about gold. Made a new all-time high. High in gold 29,059. Is that the right number? 2906 actually. 2906 even. What are you seeing in this gold chart, Coach?
Typical gold.
It just goes up.
Last night I did see it. I am not trading it, but look at first half an hour or first half an hour last night. We had a classic breakout, urgent buying, um, and just didn't turn back. But here we go. We make these all-time highs, and we get some supply. I mean, it's look at that. I still find gold very hard to trade. Um, maybe I mean that's just me. I don't that, but on a day trade, are there were trades you can get 2 to 1 on? Absolutely. One of them was last night early, right off the Globex Open.
Oh wow, look at that.
I believe the risk was $10, $1,000 on a big, $100 on a micro, maybe two. But did it move $20? Yeah, real quick.
Yeah,
2 to 1 trade.
that's a nice trade there. Hmm. Took a little while to get going. Took maybe the Asian session to started going a little bit. This is right around 7:30 Central. But that is a nice trade there.
Yeah, that was, and it was. I mean, it came back and tested you. Tried to make a new low, but VWAP had left the range. And by the way, that was a small range.
Coach, can we talk about that a little
I,
bit?
yeah.
All right. So you and I, once we got off of here yesterday, we watched the market open last night, right? For a couple of different markets looking for potential trades. What is the significance of a small opening range
Well,
as opposed to a wide opening range? Maybe if this was a 30 point or call it a 20-point opening range in gold instead of five.
um, well, here there's not much. It's smaller risk. The risk
Yep.
because the range is small. The action hasn't happened yet. Um, versus a larger, bigger candle for the or range, you have more risk. I tie it to the ATR. I love these kind of small range ones that they have the possibility of breaking out versus a bigger one. It's got work to do.
Right.
And we saw that last night. And it took some time and it had bigger risk. This one, after you just starting, and if you didn't look at yesterday's range, here we're starting off. There's not much going on. When the buyers do come in, they're not hiding. They're leaving a trail, right? VWAP is trending up, and you're leaving the range. I love those trades. I don't
Yeah.
have to. It doesn't cost me. I have the philosophy is I'm buying risk. I'm not trading.
Okay. I like that.
Whether I'm getting short or getting long, I'm buying risk. Where I can take the smallest amount of risk and lean, like I call this is a classic in a pit. This would be leaning on a bid. Now,
Okay.
I don't know that there's buyers, but the DNA is there. I don't know if there's no selling or buying. Now, for 1, 2, 3, 4 bars in, 3 are buying, 1 is selling, and VWAP is higher. Well, I mean, I- it's not. Um, this isn't nuclear science. It's hey, it's being bought. Can I afford the risk? Okay, well, I can't. I don't want to take $1,000 risk. I know. I'm looking at it, the ATRs last night. I know this trade, but I can size down. If I don't want to do one large one, by the way, that large one was designed when gold was $100. Literally,
Yeah.
literally. So, I could do 2 micros, $200. So I love those little small. There's they're going to there's something's going to happen. Versus a big range. Well, hell, it's there's a lot of risk there. There's not the game's been played.
Yep. Yeah. A lot of the business
It's like
has been done
entering
already.
it's like entering a poker hand after the second round. It's like in that here you're entering it and you got pocket aces, you know, or pocket jacks, whatever. Um, Let me see. I can ante up and maybe add to my bet. So um, that was a classic.
Yeah. Really nice
While
move
we're
there. Never
here,
got back to that range. Go ahead, coach.
why don't we go to the Japanese yen last night?
Let's take a look
Same
at it.
thing.
Let's take a look. We haven't talked about it in a little while. It was a big mover today. I think, yeah, 1% up on the Japanese yen today. Here's the open last night. Pretty clean.
Small range, and that's a half an hour. Now the buyers show up. How do we know? Well, the price went up. We have candle, but VWAP is leaving the range almost immediately. This was a huge move for the yen.
Yeah. Have you
Uh,
been trading it? Have you
uh,
been looking at it much, coach? Or was this just, hey, this one popped up. It looks like a good
yeah.
opportunity. I'll take it.
I've been trading it.
Okay.
It's been choppy. But you know, we just talked about it, and Coach Vince, I can't wait to have him on next week. He talks. You could, if you manage your risk, you could try and buy this the last 10 times and made good money if you manage your risk, cutting your losses. The thing is, you're playing for this. Now, you don't get this all the time. But if you have a trading plan and it has an edge, you have to execute the plan for the edge. You could do 3 losses in a row, or, you can't control when it's going to win. But if you manage your risk, you take good losses, you can lose 80% of the time and make good money. I the I know this from when I started, and I've been working with thousands of traders. Our f as our first entree into this trading business is, "Man, I gotta get those winners, and I'm just gonna fucking hit it out of the park." I equate it to trying to hit a grand slam with one, runner on base. This is not gonna happen. You might get lucky.
Yep.
Uh, I I'd rather be good than lucky. So
Uh,
anyway,
let's
the
zoom out a little
end.
bit on this yen chart. Are you looking for, because I'm seeing,
Yeah,
we're on a daily chart, we're pretty far away from that 200 moving average. We haven't seen it in a little while, going back to December. Uh, is this something that you may be
yeah.
looking for a continuation in, or is this?
Yes, for 2 reasons. Look at how the 20-day moving average, we closed above it, held that.
Yep.
What was the resistance? The 50-day moving average. Interestingly, blow that up a bit so you can see what happened last night. And this is fun trading, or large. This is a large entity. Someone had to buy, like, cover this yen. Could be a bank, could be a multiple. Look at that. Where did it break out of? I mean, it wicked, never closed. This was the decision. Now, was there some news out of Japan last night?
I think there was. I think there was. I would have to look at Financial Juice to pull it up, but I think there was some news out of Japan last night. It looks like. I mean, if you guys know exactly what it was, if you can let us know what that news was, I want to see where there might have been a volume spike, if any. Uh, here's the open, which we're naturally going to see some volume around there. If anyone in chat remembers or knows what the news was, but we see some volume. I marked out where that 50-day moving average was. We see some volume around there, some buying coming in, and once we got above that, really nice rally there.
Yeah, and once again, I don't know the new. The news affects me, so I don't. I just, especially in the yen, I'm not watching to see whatever event is happening. I'm trading what the market is giving,
Right.
and maybe there was some big news. I just found out. I just for me, I don't recommend it, you know. But what happens? Oh, there's a big news. There's an anxiety. Or I'm I'm managing my money. Um, so whatever happened, we know what happened. There was more. Like, you're gonna
more
hear this from me, and but
more
there's more
buyers than
buyers
sellers.
than sellers.
More buyers than sellers. We had PMI out in Japan last night.
Japanese
That was
PMI.
the
All
print,
right.
right? Um, Great trade. Great trade. Not something that we've talked about often, but we talk about it all the time here, traders. There is opportunity in a bunch of different markets. Let's just do a quick scan. Um, and we talked about it, coach. I think we've both identified as trend traders, right? Trying to catch some trends. Here is the 30-year bonds with the trend today. Uh, we saw the trend in the equities after a bit of a sell-off, but when I'm talking about a trend, the yen, the bonds, there was no two-sided trade at any point of the day in this 30-year chart.
Listen,
Let's look.
that's
Lean. Go ahead.
the bonds. We don't know. It's the same DNA. All of these.
All of them.
It doesn't matter. If I put this on, we don't put a tag on it, whether it's yen, um, micro bit, whatever it is. It's at the end of the day, the exchange is what? The exchange is buyers and sellers.
Correct.
That's what an exchange does. At one point, 80% of the time, it's even. right? It's or balanced. It's the 20% of the time that I'm looking for. Now, that's for me. I like a trend. It fits my personality. I was never good at range trading, and I don't try and master it.
Right.
But I take a lot of losses. Once again, I but that's going to if you're a good blackjack player, right? They
Mhm.
don't want you there counting cards. Because even if you are a good blackjack player and you can count cards, you still have to manage your money until the cards line up.
Yep.
Would you have hogs up there?
No, so I was just going through. I was talking to Blue Boy in the chat, saying,
Uh-huh.
the bonds were smoking. I need to get back to trading those. The tick value is a bit scary, so I just wanted to do a quick. If the bonds, they can get expensive, right? If you're trading the 30-year, that's going to be the most expensive product. Here's the 5-year, right? The 5-year. Correct me if I'm wrong, Coach. 625 a tick.
The minis?
Yep.
Well, the minis, do they have half ticks? Yeah, they
I,
do. That
I
should be
think.
right. Yeah,
I
the
think. Yeah.
minis
I think it's
because a
six
tick,
625.
yeah, which would go
Whereas
into 32 and a half. So yeah. And for all you mathematicians out there, you convert 30 seconds into decimals. But yeah, that's right.
okay, so you have other products that you can trade. They do tend to trend the same, right? Some might be a little more aggressive than others. The 30-year I've seen move a little bit more drastically than the 5 or the 2-year most times. But if you want that exposure to those markets and you don't want the risk, it's almost like trading a micro, right? We don't have the mic. There are micro products that you could trade with a live account. We don't have them here, but you could trade the 5, the 2, the 10. Uh, and they all trade decent volume, right? So you're not going to be the only person on those order books. Uh, all right, let's get to some questions, Coach. We haven't gotten any questions. I want to apologize also, chat, for how
Oh,
I
you have some
started the
new ones.
call, uh, but let's 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 give back now. Let's answer
You don't
questions.
apologize. You're being open.
Yeah,
This is part of coaching is therapy.
correct,
It truly
correct.
is. Well, it- so question here, Coach Jay and Coach Paul, how do you prevent yourselves from going on tilt?
Go ahead, Coach.
Who
I'll
wants to
throw that to
start?
you. I think I started this call until, so I'll let you go.
Okay. um, I don't know. Here, like I said, I can be stubborn. Um, I was brought up in an environment where you have to be tough. I mean, you take pain. So to me, tilt was I can take more pain. Give it. And the market could give you all the pain that you ever imagined. So I kept up, I when I was right, I was really right. When I was wrong, I was really wrong. Um, so going on tilt to me was just ignoring that I should have gotten out. I had no risk management. So I would go on tilt and then as I shared the story the other day of I'd have such a big loss. I'd be ashen white, and an older trader looked at me and goes, "You're stuck, aren't you?" I'll bring this, and I'm like, "How do you know?" He goes, "I can see it." He goes, "And you're probably praying to God to let you out."
Yep.
I actually was. And just let me out. If it gets to even, I'll just get out. Why I bring it up? He turned to me and goes, "Look, you're you're praying to God. He's perfect. He's on the other side of your trade. He ain't gonna let you out." Boom, I got out. And when I bring this up, knowing on tilt, I can't. One of the things we can't really control when we go on tilt too well, but what can we control? This is a
Where
philosophy:
where
control
you
the
lose.
controllables. What did I can control how much I lose in one day. And you've heard me say it if you listen long enough. 12% done. shut down. That's it. If you don't have that, that's where tilt will kill you. If you're losing 50% of your equity, it's over. Just don't let it happen. So for me, how do you control tilt? You can't. You can make. I mean, I'm much better at controlling my emotions than I was when I was younger. But still, I can't. What I can control is how much I lose in one day. So focus on that, I would say, because you're going to have losing days. Where tilt comes was when you spin out of control and you're trying to chase losses to make it back. So I stopped that I cut off 12%. How about you, coach?
Uh, that's a great question. But I like what you said. Managing the downside, just manage the risk. To answer your question specifically, who was that? YY. If you find that you're going on tilt with your Top Step accounts, I'll just give you something logistical to do right now. Decide what you are comfortable risking max loss limit wise right now, right? Make it a reasonable amount. Coach Paul just gave a suggestion of 12%. You might want to go 6%, right? I wouldn't suggest going much higher than that. Decide whatever number that is. And then for the next week at 5 p.m. Central Time when the market's open, go into your risk settings, set that as your max loss limit, save it, and then lock the settings so you can't change it for the day. And then don't give yourself the opportunity, and you might go on tilt and you might blow it, but what happens, I think, when we're going on tilt is that we're not accepting reality, right? We want reality to be something different, right? I don't, most people don't go on tilt when they're winning. You might go on, you might have euphoria, continue to put on trades, start losing, and then you go on tilt. But tilt usually doesn't happen because you're winning. It usually happens because you're losing, right? So how do you stop it? Ideally, you have the self control to say, hey, I'm down 12%. I'm going to lock it out. I'm done for the day. But we have built in features with Topstep that you don't have to rely on having to make a decision under pressure, right? It's like, finding yourself in a war zone. You're waking up, you're in a war, and you're like, oh, wait, what am I supposed to do now? Right? Make the decision, plan it before. So whatever you decide your max loss limit is, as soon as the markets open up, even if you're not going to trade, set it, save it. You can close down the charts, but that's the amount that you're going to lose. Do that for a week, do it for 2 weeks. If you end up losing, don't buy another account, don't go trade somewhere else. Consider that a loss and wrap it up for the day, right? Tilt comes from losing, from my experience, and it's not accepting the reality of that loss.
And one last thing, that's great advice, coach. One last thing is position sizing. I a lot of the time that it all starts to get too big a position on it. But we'll go more into position sizing. But coach, you nailed it. It
Oh,
never comes from winning and when you're making monies.
okay. So JD just put in the comment, I get tilted for not making enough. It's a great point. Let me rephrase that a little bit, maybe. Tilt comes from not meeting what is often a outsized expectation. Does that make a little bit more sense? Maybe. Right, because I
Yeah.
get that too, right? That can happen, right? Where it's just like, I want to make 1,000, but I only made 50. Damn it, that's not enough, right? So tilt comes from not accepting reality. There it goes, not accepting reality. I think that's what it is. Um,
Well, these are all great
manage the
questions
downside.
because these are, these are the core of trading.
Yep.
Um, like I said, why? Someone said, why 12%? Well, I'm 12%. Um, I could go 8 days in a row, but I don't blow up my account. Why? It's 12% of my equity. Well, it's like I forgot that what is it? If you could, if you cut something in half, it goes to infinity.
Right.
You'll never get that zero if you keep cutting it in half. But 12% of 50K, right? How much
And
is that? It's about
12%,
$600.
yeah, 12% of your drawdown, right? So on a $2,000
Oh
account,
wait, yes, a very good point. Just-
12% of that drawdown. So and if you're trading at 50K, let me just do some quick math here. It's 240 bucks. It's going to sound tight, but that's why we suggest trading small in those accounts, right? So you can be comfortable. And uh, there's a lot of opportunity to make some money with trading micros in these accounts. Make some money relative to the account that you're trading, right? Um, and Tyson, perfect comment. It's hard when you hear live traders making 20K a day. Maybe if you're comparing yourself to them, but can you build to that point? Can you build an account safely to that point where it can facilitate some bigger trades? Maybe. But be honest with the reality that you're in. Can your account facilitate? It sounds nice. I actually saw the trader that we have now as our number one trader on the leaderboard. Saw him on Twitter the other day. I don't think I followed, but I liked the post. Um, and he said, this shows the where I ended on the day, where you made 600 grand, and I don't know how long it was, but it doesn't show the intraday drawdowns. Everyone wants to make 20K. He might have had to sit through a P&L swing where he was up 12,000 on the day, staying in the position because you have a higher time frame bias, and the position draws down 5K before it eventually goes in your favor, right? With Jay-Z said it the best. You don't know my expenses. I have to buy bigger plates. Right? As, as you make more money, you have to get more comfortable with some certain things,
oh,
right? So, uh, you know, play the game that you're in until you can step up to that next level. Uh, let's answer the rest of these comments. Blue boy, there you go. Hey Jay, can you go over the J trade again, quick, please? All right. Where did we see one today?
it was on a daily chart. Well, it hadn't completed. We have to make that high.
It was on the FOMC candle, right?
Um, yeah,
Here we go.
God, that seems like months ago. It
Yeah,
was
it
what, a
does.
week ago?
A week ago. Yeah.
I
So
just
this.
had to throw something in here from Coach Vince. And when you
Okay.
start losing, you have to learn how to size down. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. 100%, coach. So the J trade would be high volume exhaustion, usually at the. Actually, here I'm gonna go to the Nasdaq. I think we had on a shorter time frame. We had some on a shorter time frame.
Yes. I think that was
Uh,
yesterday. There it is.
yeah. Here it is right here. Right. So we have high volume. You're gonna frame out that high volume. Um, and then pretty much waiting for the market. It's a sometimes it ends up being a 3 bar reversal. Sometimes it kind of looks like this, but a close above where this highest volume, and that ended up being the highest volume of the day outside of the close. So you're framing out that high volume, waiting for the market to close above it. Ideally, VWAP gets above it as well. But we can see, right, once we started to trade outside of this range, we got volume building up. The market starts to respect the high of this candle. That would be the J trade there. Sometimes it's going to happen a little bit faster than others, but that's the trade there.
Yeah, it's the one of we used to call it the puke in the
Yep.
pit. That volume is someone just mostly that selling couldn't take out. That's heavy volume couldn't take out light volume. It stopped.
Right.
It's over. And when it gets over that high, you can well define risk, and it's a pretty high probability trade. It's almost
100%.
like I will give this. It's like a horse. If you ever go to the track, that horse. that breaks out and it's ahead at halfway through, and
Okay.
all of a sudden it loses the lead. That horse isn't going to come back and win the race. That energy is expended, and something else is going to take over. The buyers, if the buyers come in and get above where they started, it's it's got a high probability of finishing. So those buyers overtook that horse that was winning the race. Those sellers, and those sellers aren't coming back. What do they, like you say? What's the probability of them coming to sell that much again?
Doing it again, right? Right. Same thing on the buy side, right? If we see that exhaustion, they take out a bunch of orders. Okay, well, for us to continue, you need to continue buying, right? And if I spent all my money buying here, now I might have to figure out what's happening, right? Do I make money on this position? Do I have to puke this position if I'm fully allocated? Uh, Rich Layton, Menthor Q. Coach Paul, during your 30 plus year experience in trading, are these conditions some of the hardest to trade in? I think that
Um,
question specifically about the equities.
the most volatile, one of the most for a extended period of time. Now, there was these, the '87 crash. The '08 was to me was easier to trade because it was one way. um,
Yeah,
I, so, but yeah, um, here's one of the things is the price level. Well, Nasdaq is at 22,000,
yeah,
and we just talked about position sizing. So it comes back to me to smooth that out is position sizing. We're so equities are usually tougher to trade from my experience. Why? Because there's a lot of retail trading in stocks.
they get all the attention.
So we just saw the yen. How many how many people do you know talk about trading the yen? There's if there's a, n- a minuscule amount of retail trading in the yen.
Right.
It's easier to me. It's just easier to read. Um, where it happens, how many people do you know are trading stocks and Nasdaq and S&P? A lot. So in there's a lot of um, randomness. I mean, that's what I'm thinking. But yeah, this has been this month. Look at the gaps. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. But I'll tell you what, if you have a good plan and your plan is sized right, volatility is a very good thing. I'll add that.
Nelson says, I wish I traded in 2008, but I was 7.
You would
Should
have
have been
loved it.
older.
Was it? It
Should have
should
been
have been
born
older.
earlier. Uh, all right. I think my charts just froze up here. I think we got some. Okay, let's try to refresh. There we go. All right. I think we got to all the questions. I do see a comment from Rupert Pupkin. Would you say a high volume candle signals the end of a move? It can, right? It really depends on what happens after it. Is there follow through, or is there, or does the volume dry out, right? Like for example, what we were talking about in the Nasdaq here. I'm actually going to go down to a shorter time frame because I think it's a little bit more observable. But we have this high volume here, and then we talked about sustainability, right? Coach was just talking about it. Sure, they sold to create this price action, but do they continue selling? Right? We see that volume die out, and that creates that reversal. And it's not the quickest reversal. It took a little while because we still need to see buyers step in to push the market up. Um, but then, and here's another decent example right here where it's not the highest volume of the day, but relative to everything else trading around it, what happens? We get a spike, and then volume kind of doesn't really follow through. So it depends. Sometimes I think I just saw a quick example of it in the yen where we had high volume and there was a decent follow through afterwards, right? We had a couple of candles that are above that average. Um, Again, it's not the most dramatic example, but I guess the answer to that is it
It sure
depends.
didn't
Go ahead, coach.
it didn't break the low of that candle.
Right.
Key.
Even on a retest of the lows.
Yeah. No, so
It depends.
and it all restarts again. Remember, I don't even, I, Coach Jay and I were talking yesterday, and it became a realization. Each day is different. We're day traders.
Yep.
This is a day trading. Stay in the present. Manage your risk. Um, and follow your plan because we're at time. So
We are at
I'll
time.
hand it off to you.
Trade well, manage your risks, stay focused on your process. What happens in your account is the most important for all of us here. What happens in your account is the most important. So just remember that. Hopefully, everybody's trading well, managing your risk. Whatever strategy you're trading, uh, I'll manage my risk, but Trump is managing my stress levels. Don't let him. Do some meditations, turn off CNN or Fox News, whichever one it is, and trade corn. It's a little less stressful. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Hit that like button if you haven't done so already. And I'll see you all for slow markets with Dakota tonight. If not, I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.